Hi everyone, and welcome to week 8. I wanted to take a moment today to share my thoughts on the discussion forum and the 2019 article by Kavanaugh, talking about 3 different challenges and opportunities for future innovative social enterprises. I thought the article, though short, was very intriguing and certainly touched on some areas that are really important in social enterprise. So the first one being the growing influence of global corporation. The author really focuses on lobbying efforts and where those can be helpful or good in driving policy change and things that are important, but also where lobbying can sometimes be, he refers to it as no more than bribery, right? I share this opinion myself. I have a lot of difficulty thinking about the impact that lobbyists have on our political environment, and the way that they're able to go about that, right? So the fact that they're able to contribute to political campaigns and really have these close relationships with political figures undoubtedly influences how political figures think about policy, and whether or not that's morally right or acceptable, I think is a good challenge by Kavanaugh, and one that we should continue to kind of think about and certainly drive change for in the future, just to make sure that as we think about our political system, that we try to keep it as morally just and fair as possible. It's hard to say that without laughing, just because politics in general can be very corrupt, right? We know this, not just in the US, around the world. And so it's something that I think we have to continually strive for. And we have to be serious as a society about, one, understanding, how this works, how lobbying works in politics, and how that drives decisions that may benefit or harm people, and how we then regulate that or allow that to happen or not. So I do think that that's something that more folks should know more about and should be more involved in overall, and hopefully we can drive some of that change in future generations. The second topic is global climate change and the negative environmental impact of our lifestyles. So we know that there are some major environmental issues that we are facing today, and that certainly will be facing in the future if we decide not to, make any changes in sort of how we're going about things today. So that can be a controversial topic. Not everybody maybe buys into the seriousness or the overall depth of the issues, or the breadth maybe. I think that there are a lot of, maybe not a lot, there certainly are some folks that feel like, we're making a mountain out of a molehill. And that could be true in some situations, right? But I think the point is taking care of the resources that we have and preserving it for future generations, and that there is a moral obligation for society to think about that as we kind of move forward, specifically as social entrepreneurs. Like how can we help, right, in that situation? And then the third thing that he talks about is the moral maturity or lack thereof of contemporary decision makers and citizens. And I thought this one was really interesting because I don't think this is something that, yes, we hear about, political systems, global corporations, the influence that corporations and lobbying has. I think that's probably a fairly well-known topic. So is climate change and environmental issues, right? I think the third topic that Kavanaugh talks about is not something that I have heard a lot about or have really kind of heard as an argument. So I thought it was really interesting. I do think it's true. I mean, I think that there's a wide variety of moral maturity, right? And what people even think about or consider as their morals. So I think, this is an opportunity, as Kavanaugh puts it, for reflection, where we can have more open conversations about ethics and morals and values in today's environment that maybe we couldn't have had a generation ago, and that we should leverage that and encourage reflection and learning in this area, so that we could hopefully, drive alignment on moral and ethical issues. I thought that was an interesting perspective. Certainly makes a lot of sense to me, and something that we should consider as we move forward. And I think if I were a leader, a social enterprise leader, how would I think about the challenges that were listed by Kavanaugh, and how could we look at them as opportunities? And this just goes back to social innovation, right? So if we know that these are issues, how do we drive social enterprise or entrepreneurship that will impact and improve these areas? And so the number one thing that I think is important is just awareness, right? Is to know that what are my values, what are my ethics, what are my goals, and how do I build an organization or a mission and values that surround that, that speak to that, and to consistently keep that in mind. I think sometimes in business, it starts out being one thing and ends up being another. So I think we've seen, these studies that have shown us this throughout the course. If we think about, even like Bombas as an example, very noble cause, probably started out very, focused on clearly doing the right thing. Not to say that they're not today, but they're also definitely driving profit. So if they were to, kind of reflect on themselves from a moral perspective, or to think about the challenges that they are trying to, resolve in the world, do they feel good about their business model and the way that they're doing that? And maybe they do, and that's great. But I think those are the kinds of questions as social entrepreneurs that we have to continue to ask ourselves, right? And we have to continue to challenge ourselves with. So thanks for hearing my thoughts this week. Sorry for the long video, but hope you all have a great week and wrapping up the class, and look forward to hearing your thoughts. Thanks.